The hard truth about remote jobs. I just joined this group out of curiosity. I had seen posts on Facebook announcing work from home jobs that are obviously a scam, but people still falling for them. So consider this post a PSA. Background: I am a Fed that has been working from home for 7 years. My siblings and several of my cousins also work from home: attorneys, IT, a salesman, an HR manager, a curriculum developer, a product manager, etc. 1. Most remote jobs are offered to people who were already working in person for that company. The others are highly specialized and require years of verifiable experience. 2. Usually, entry-level jobs are not announced on Facebook or through third parties. The company lists them on their website. Reason: there is enough demand for those jobs that no extra advertising is needed. Word of mouth from their employees is enough. 3. Competition for entry-level remote jobs is fierce. Everybody wants them. Without relevant experience, odds to land one are less than 1 in a 1,000. 4. WFH does not mean you have flexibility or can have your small kids with you. You still have to do your job and meet production goals. My office has a rule that no children under 12 can be alone with the employee while he/she is working. 5. Beware of scams. Nobody is going to pay you $20 an hour, give you a laptop, and let you choose your hours if they have not interviewed you and checked your references first. Anybody and their cousin can do data entry, provide customer service, and plan events. My 14-year-old daughter can do that. If those are your only skills, you are not special. Your resume was not found in LinkedIn. I am not saying to give up on your dream of landing a remote job. I'm suggesting to be realistic. Your best chances are to find an office job, prove your worth, earn their trust, and eventually move to hybrid and then remote. Complaining about not being able to get a remote job is like complaining about not winning the lottery. Most people don't. Best posting I have seen on this Reddit. The problem with the divided states of America is that each state has its own tax law and way of doing things, which cripple the companies within each state to not offering more remote roles to meet the demand. IDK if Biden could address this remote work culture better. Hell, he could probably care less, since he's from an older generation or he's getting paid to make companies go remote from certain shady lobbying. Moreover, even for a specialized role, they won't take people from neighboring cities, and especially outside of the home state of where the roles stem from. You know, companies used to fund the travel expenses for interviews in the past, or now they, after a phone and video interview, they don't have to if they find the best fit. But IDK if they fund the new incumbents' moving arrangements into the new state, i.e. new apartment, travel expenses, insurance, time to switch driver's licenses in the new state, finishing off past running lease agreements on incumbents' prior apartment, etc. Either way, every company, even if there's only a few openings for one type of role, they'll try eliminate the roles entirely to cut costs or dump the work into existing employees. 2. Hire internal hires first via word-of-mouth internal network, while inadvertently discriminating against those with certain needs and disabilities, even though they're also internal employees. 3. And then they start announcing the role on job boards and decide if it can be remote or local hires only, or willing to recruit from out of state or country. Interesting perspective about the differences between states. I also think these complicate things. I think no president would want to get into the state freedom of taxation laws debate. This would be a rough one for any president or for anyone running for that post. And yes, companies used to help fund relocation, etc. The companies I'm affiliated with still do, and we make sure that we help people who are expected to be at the office or traveling for work. However, we also have experienced issues with WFH. Decline in productivity is one of them, and some others when it comes to management. Remote jobs are not for everyone or for any position. It requires certain jobs and employees to make it work. Another note, most remote jobs are actually just hybrid, and you'll definitely need to live near the workplace. It's better to look at the websites of local businesses that fit your skill set and apply to hybrid positions from there. I got my full-time remote job from LinkedIn. A recruiter reached out to me. I tailored my resume to the job opening, which wasn't even on my radar originally, and got the job. Transitioned from an interior design assistant position to working in operations for a forensic accounting firm. Tripled my salary. It's unlikely, but it can happen. I'm saying this as someone who put in the time for 7 years at a horrible office job. I was holding out for $50K and a shot of changing my hours to 7/4 instead of 8:30, 5:30. I proved my worth dozens of times over and didn't go anywhere. Should have left sooner. All I'm saying is companies don't deserve your loyalty. They drop you in a heartbeat and screw you when it comes time for raises. If you don't like your current job, find another. If it's partially or fully remote, all the better. I have to keep reminding my hubby that working from home is not the same thing as not working. I don't have time to pick up his dry cleaner or drop off some packages. Definitely agree with this post. I got my WFH job because someone I know, roommate, is a mitigation assistant manager, and they were struggling to find people in-house who could figure out a program called Xactimate, where you sketch house layouts and enter line items for billing based on what was demolished in the house. I just happen to know the right person and have grown up with a PC, so I'm very comfortable learning new apps. Now I get paid to sit at home and play a basic version of The Sims. I do still go in once a week to write invoices on paper, though, and I wasn't able to work at home until a few months in after I had proven I was trustworthy and dedicated. Not everyone can or should do customer service. It is not an easy job. You have entitled people cursing you out daily. Your hands are tied as far as company policy goes. You have anywhere between 2 to 8 weeks in training before you're thrown to the wolves with no help. You're micromanaged to the point that if you go to the bathroom, you get written up. You get the idea. I've been doing call center work for 28 years. I'm so tired of people in their ivory towers coming in here and saying things like, customer service is easy, or anyone can do customer service. I would love to see those people try it for a week and then see how they feel. Regarding point 1, not entirely true. There are fully distributed companies out there. They don't have an office, they've never had one, and never will. The best, only way to guarantee there will be no return to office mandate is to work at a company without an office. Of course, all the rest of this applies. By and large, they're hiring experienced people. They get a ton of applicants, and they're largely tech/startup companies, so there's higher risk, especially lately. Truth, but literally no one wants to hear this. It can't possibly be true because you know I need a remote job. Need. No car, I have 13 disabilities, 3 new babies and no childcare, a sick relative I'm a FT caregiver for, and a partridge in a pear tree. But all this means I simply cannot work an office or retail job. Yep, a remote job isn't free money. I probably work harder more than I would in an office because there aren't any coworkers to distract me, other than my smoking hot wife who also works from home, and my commute is a walk to the basement so I can put in extra time into projects and presentations after dinner if I'm up early, etc. Great post. This made me chuckle. I've seen plenty of remote customer service jobs, but it's call center work. 5 is completely true, and people really shouldn't think they can work from home while also taking care of small children. Everything else is 100% false. It used to be true that working remotely was only possible if you've been successfully working with the same company. That's not true anymore, and hasn't been for way over a decade. My first shot at working from home was with a company I'd already been working for. That was in 2011. I've worked consistently from home until 2019. Now it sounds like your experience is in a more corporate setting, and those jobs are absolutely hiring qualified applicants from outside the company, even those who haven't worked remotely before. Remote call centers also hire newbies and experienced alike. They can then be promoted into positions that are still remote, but off the phones. I will never understand why people like you try to sabotage others. And out of all of the terrible advice I've read in this sub, you've topped them all. But with that said, I found a really good lead earlier in this sub, so it does have good advice. If you're new to working remotely, Ignore everything except number 5, but even then, only kind of ignore it. Some of the women I've met over the years actually have been successful working remotely with kids at home. It just can only be pretty niche jobs that are very hard to find. The lead BW is working as a background investigator for a couple companies. Peraton, I believe, is the one that only wants previous work experience and is paying over $20. Good luck, everyone, and never listen to anyone telling you what you can't do. They're only trying to psych you out. I think number 4 varies highly by the skill involved and the type of job. Maybe a $20 an hour job allows you to supervise young children while you work. I bet most don't, but higher paying corporate jobs do not. I've worked from home for a decade in risk management and tech, and could not have done my job in the office or at home without childcare when my kids were babies, toddlers, preschoolers, without them being raised by TV tablets, which is not good for their development. My husband and I both work from home and can get by now because they are all school-aged and the oldest is in middle school. I feel like it might be the opposite. A $20 job is likely going to be call or service-based and tracked pretty closely. I make $100K plus, and my metrics are more results-based. As long as I show up for meetings with what I need to show up with and am generally available by email and Teams, I have a little bit of flexibility. Yeah, our rule is if we hear a small child during a meeting, you have to turn your camera on so we can all wave and say hi. If you are working remotely with kids at home, then you are not an employee, as in W-2. You are an independent contractor, as in 1099. You are supposed to dedicate your work time to your employer, not to change diapers, settle arguments between siblings, or read bedtime stories. BTW, I am not trying to sabotage anybody. I am trying to help people make informed decisions based on facts. I am not saying that landing a remote job is impossible. I am saying that the odds are very low, especially for entry level, and even more so if you don't have relevant experience. Could it happen? Yes, but I'm not going to rely on that. Just like I don't rely on winning the lottery as part of my retirement plan. I am assuming this is an opinion, definitely not an actual rule for every employer. That's not true at all. Lots of W-2 roles are focused on deliverables, not micromanagement of your time. Garbage post. Truth bomb. This is a great post. If you rephrase, I want a remote job as, I want an office job, people are going to ask what you do. I work in customer success. Home/remote is just where I do it 80+% of the time. One is the fact people don't want to hear. I've been 100% remote since 2009. Started in office and moved companies after 20 years in the field. I don't know, I've had plenty of luck finding remote jobs. I am highly experienced though. One lets me work my own hours. I've been on a remote team since 2015. We have very flexible hours. Most of us leave at 2:30 or 3. You just have to be around for meetings and hit 40 hours a week. Everyone has their babies and kids at home. Some include them in our meetings and no one cares. And we've hired people with only some similar experience from other cities not near one of our traditional offices. The catch is that it doesn't pay a whole lot. I've also had final round interviews for remote jobs in other cities recently, despite not having super specialized experience. I have had more luck with these than local in-office jobs. Maybe my company and I are just exceptions. This is the most accurate shit I have ever read on Reddit. You can't pick and choose the shit you want in a job. Work and do the job, or don't. Be productive and successful, or live off society, the government, and others. Pretty simplistic concepts.